Hello, my name is Wolf, and this is a note from the probability field. Where to begin? Where to begin? Things have got to change. Actually, things will change no matter what. The question is, do we want to make the effort to have some influence on the evolution of those changes? According to historians Will and Ariel Durant, only 268 of the past 3,421 years of recorded history have been entirely peaceful for humans. 92% of the time, people have been at war. And in case you thought maybe the US was special, it's been 246 years since declaring independence in 1776. And the US has been at war for 229 of those years. That's 93% of the time from Independence Day till now. So we're running a little hot compared to the average. War, in big ways and small ways, seems to have become the default way we resolve issues. The way we do business, even the way we relate to each other many times. Everything is a war. We have the war on crime, the war on poverty, the war on drugs, the war on hunger, on parents, on kids, war on men, war on women, LGBTQ people, the battle of the sexes, the war on COVID. We even implemented the Defense Authorization Act for that one, and a war on guns, which I find to be just a little bit ironic. And now there are at least 7 or 8 full-scale shooting wars currently going on. We have Israel and the Palestinians coming up to speed again. And of course, we have Ukraine and Russia, making war all too annoyingly obvious to be kept in the background. It appears we use war, as well as the threat and the fear of war, at one level or another to underpin our economy, our politics, many of our relationships. From birth, the cultural implications are overt and covert that life is a competition. You don't want to be a loser in that competition either. No way. You must fight and win. Maybe we need to rethink our approach, recontextualize so that life is not so conflict prone. So we're going to take some alt views of a few different situations, see what that could look like. First example, with the war on COVID. We have learned and are learning more every day about just how integrated, interlaced, interdependent all the different realms and life forms on the planet really are. That includes us. Every element and being on the earth is symbiotically connected, both physically and energetically. The earth and all of its inhabitants are a holistic and sentient planetary system. And given that, it is entirely possible that COVID-19 is not an aggressive virus at all, but may in fact be a planetary immune response to a highly invasive, rapidly mutating cancer that's attacking and destroying the respiratory and circulatory systems and even the geologic skeletal structure of the earth. That cancer, we are that cancer. And the earth is responding to the mortal threat we pose to all life on the planet by trying to eradicate us before we decimate everything else. If the planet doesn't succeed in bringing the cancer under control, meaning bringing us to our senses, we will no doubt succeed in robbing the host, our living host, of the ability to sustain life, including our own. But maybe we can fix a few problems all at once here if we focus on healing and caring for the environment, thereby saving all flora and fauna and ourselves from extinction. We may find that living in a healthy ecosystem, we experience fewer, maybe even no more pandemics like COVID-19. And what about the war on drugs, which we seem to be losing? In particular, the spiraling fentanyl crisis. The Washington Times reported this spring, fentanyl overdose is the leading cause of death for U.S. adults 18 to 45. In 2020, there were over 37,000. 41,587 in 2021, and they're expecting the number to be even higher for 2022. After searching the data pretty thoroughly, it appears only the US has such a high death rate from this drug. No other country even comes close to us. The Washington Times report indicates that, according to the DEA, China ships the precursor chemicals for making fentanyl to Mexico. The cartels there process it into the drug and then illegally transport it into the US. This begs the question, though, why would the cartels want to kill off their clientele and their cash flow? I can see several possible, viable, if not probable scenarios. Number one, the cartels are just being stupid and are in it for quick cash. Probably not really the scenario. I don't think they're quite that dumb. Number two, China is paying the cartels to produce and sell a more potent and more lethal version of that drug for U.S. distribution only. So why would they want to do that? Well, besides the rising death toll, there are broad economic and other impacts, like the added burden on our security, legal, and medical systems, disruption of families. It distracts us politically and impairs education and the workforce. It can also limit a whole generation of potential service-age military personnel. And there could be other things. A slight variation on that is that it's not the cartels at all, but it actually is agents of China or other U.S. adversaries posing as the cartels, processing and shipping the drugs for all the above reasons and other nefarious purposes. Number three, it's possible this crisis is being orchestrated by the extreme right Republican-leaning groups as birth control for societal, cultural, religious, and ethnic groups that threaten their vision of a predominantly white Christian-dominated America and who also may be likely to vote Democratic. As we can see, this gives the right a reason to advocate for more restrictive war on crime-style laws and legislation to restrict immigration and access to health care. The last situation that we'll look at is the war in Ukraine, which we can hardly ignore. It seems there are a lot of people purposely allowing themselves to be blind to the reality and unwilling to recognize or acknowledge the obvious, which is this is a war. We're facing a war marked by the lawless, barbaric invasion of a freely established democratic republic with a calculated, ruthless genocide of its people and the destruction of its culture, and the stated intention by the Russians to occupy other sovereign states as well. Given the global economic, political, ideological, and moral dimensions of the war, we could be, or maybe we already are, in the beginning stages of World War III. If you don't want to go there, the World War III scenario, keeping our distance by just sending aid and weapons, no matter how heavy they are, and pontificating and speculating and preparing for a war of long duration while waiting for sanctions to work is not enough. It's not going to get us where we want to be. And Ukraine and the world are running out of time. Is it really still necessary to prove again how short-sighted, egotistical, stupidly brutal, and uncaring people can be to each other? How can there be any question whether the wanton slaughter of thousands of civilian men, women, and children bulldozed into mass graves, how can there be any question that that's really genocide? It is, and it really can't be allowed to continue. The pain and carnage being inflicted by this demonstration of humanity's potential for primitive inhumanity to one another, that alone is sufficient reason to put a quick, definitive end to this war. But, if that's not enough for you, then consider the ideological elements that are primary drivers of this conflict. To simplify a little, this is a war between autocratic, controlling, repressive government and democratic, representative, participatory government. History bears out that given a full opportunity to choose between autocratic, dictatorial, or a democratic republic style of government, people choose the path of democracy virtually every time. That's why autocratic regimes find it necessary to limit speech, control the news media, restrict voting rights, jail and murder those who question or dissent, and start wars in order to stay in power. You may note some analogs to January 6th here. Yes, we're sending weapons and other aid. We're implementing sanctions, talking with our NATO allies, trying to negotiate with Russia. But if we truly believe in the words liberty and justice for all, we are ethically and morally obligated to do what it takes to bring this to an end, even if it means getting our hands dirty. I mean, I'm not really advocating that we should, take a page from the Russian playbook, although maybe we should, and just say, stop this, or the Kremlin is going to be a smoking hole in the ground. But at the very least, the artillery bombardment needs to be silenced, and the missiles and the rockets, the airstrikes, those need to be eliminated. Since that's obviously not happening yet, I encourage you to speak up and speak out to your elected representatives and any other groups that you may be associated with. But there is also something else you can do on a higher level to increase the probability of events occurring to aid resolving this situation in Ukraine. You can act and contribute individually or with friends if you choose, and you can do it from wherever you are. Now, it may sound a little fringy when we talk about it, but if you do regular meditation on your own or in a circle of friends or with a sangha, or if you believe in the power of prayer or you're part of a prayer circle, or if you have faith and trust in any spiritual or higher level of energy, then what I'm going to talk about really isn't different from that. So first, let's acknowledge that similar to and connected to the collective unconscious, which was defined by Carl Jung, there's also a collective awareness and a collective memory shared by all beings throughout this sentient world. This creates a morphic resonance, an energy vibration, similar to a magnetic or gravitational field. We cannot see it, but we know that it exists. Much like when you play a musical note on a cello, a vibration is created that we can feel and we can hear, and that resonates in the body of the instrument that you're playing and in other instruments nearby. Similarly, when you create and visualize an idea, it creates a morphic resonance. This resonance establishes a vibration, a signature of sorts in the collective memory. And all of this resides in what we can refer to as the probability field. The probability field is where ideas, thoughts, visions gather a momentum that can lead to actual manifestation in our dimensional reality. So we can leverage that process. If you wish to participate in an effort to end the war in Ukraine using this process, the first thing you need to do is formulate a clear idea or vision. In this case, you want something related to the situation: increased NATO support for Ukraine, withdrawal of Russian troops from all Ukrainian territory, a peaceful and successful reunified Ukraine. But you want to put it in a way that makes sense to you, then that you can make it clear to your internally for yourself, coherent. And then don't get bogged down in too many, small details. You want an overall vision, clear vision. Once you've established what that vision is for yourself and you're able to bring it to mind clearly, then you want to pick a couple, preferably regular times of day when you're able to set aside your work or other activities for a moment and focus on that vision. At your chosen time, take a seat, or you can stand if you wish, but you want to be able to be comfortable with your back fairly straight and start taking some slow, deep breaths. As I'm going to talk through this, but don't feel like this is a pace that I'm setting for you. I'm just giving you the steps. You should, note these steps and then go through this at a pace that's comfortable for you. So you're in your place and you're taking some slow, deep breaths and you're starting to relax. As you relax, allow yourself to connect with all the energy fields of the earth. Stay with the slow, deep breathing. Let your mind settle and clear. And when you're ready, bring to mind the clear, focused vision of your idea. Let it become fully realized. Once it's fully realized and it feels complete, release your vision to the probability field. When you feel you are finished, thank the universal spirit, however you perceive that spirit to be, and go on with the rest of your day or your evening. The more times we put the idea out there, the stronger the resonance grows. With each occurrence, it makes the next reoccurrence more likely. The idea and the vision will begin to come into more and more people's awareness, more and more people's consciousness. This increases the resonance exponentially until it fully manifests in the world through the appropriate channels. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again.